Okay. Welcome back to Psynautical. Today I'm joined by JD Tremblay, author, speaker, endurance athlete, and resilience coach. JD's journey from overcoming personal struggles to accomplishing extraordinary endurance feats has inspired people around the world to pursue growth, purpose, and resilience in their own lives. We'll be discussing discipline, mindset, overcoming adversity, and what it all means to develop a true hunger for more in life. JD, thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jared.
Well, Um, so what was your life like before endurance sports became a major focus?
Yeah, it was that I joined the military before that, and then I became an ultra triathlete. It was only after um, I was in university that I did that.
Very nice. Nice. Um, so what were some of the defining struggles that helped shape you who you are today?
Uh, I would say, like everyone else, my childhood definitely helped because I was bullied as a child, and my parents got divorced when I was a kid, and so that shaped me into understanding that even my loved ones I could separate from my life, and also that resilience from the criticism of others.
Oh, nice, nice. Um, was there like a specific moment that you kind of realized or thought maybe you were capable of more than what you thought?
Yeah, definitely. Various parts of my life were, as you mentioned, and one of them was during the EpicDeca. That's when I realized that I could accomplish much more.
Oh, nice. So what motivated you to attempt the Epic Deca?
Yeah, I wanted to inspire others, do something that was completely different, and be able to push the limits of my mind and the resilience that I had built over the years.
Nice, nice. Um, was there any point during the challenge where you came close to quitting or almost gave up or during the Epic Deca or
No, I did not. The only time that physically I was exhausted was during the fourth one. I got to the airport and they placed me in a wheelchair to get to my flight. It was my birthday, and I even had my pants stolen, so I'm in my underwear. I'm in a girl's hoodie, and I'm being pushed in a wheelchair. And that's when I realized that I was really going at the extreme limit of what I thought was possible. But at no point did I ever consider even quitting. I knew what I was built for, and that was my purpose.
nice, nice. What did you learn about yourself during the competition during those 2 days? Any lessons or anything you kind of picked up on when you're competing?
Yeah, to be serious about the goals that I want to achieve and to continue following that plan despite all of these obstacles. Um, I can't say I was ready to quit, but there were many instances that could have prevented me from completing this event. And I followed the plan, I executed it, and I was ready to even alter that plan if there were some unforeseen circumstances.
Nice, nice. How much of success do you think in extreme endurance is physical versus mental?
I would say it's arbitrary, but it's roughly 80-20. Um, and so, although those are arbitrary numbers, it just shows the difference between either. The physical, it somewhat leaves after not even the first Ironman. and it becomes all of a mental game, and that's what takes a lot of energy. And even with science research, it shows that 20% of all of our energy are is all mental. So it's mostly a mental game for most of the things that we do.
Um, what are some misconceptions do you think people have about kind of elite endurance athletes?
That we know it all, and that we regulate all of our energy properly. A lot of us are just trying out something new. And so we look at the research, we listen to the podcasts, we're trying our best. But again, we're not knowledgeable in all fields. We are trying new things and we're pushing the boundaries. And as a result, then we get to find new data points.
Nice, nice. Um, you talk a lot about resilience, but how would you define it?
Well, resilience is built over time after you have undergone certain challenges in your life and build a certain level of basic discipline.
Nice, nice. What are some you find like big like mistakes people make like with their mindset when they're kind of facing adversity?
Pride is a big factor. People tend to want to do it all by themselves and not reach out for help or are not willing to pay for the help and think that, especially nowadays, because they have a basic understanding of what AI is, then they tend to be even more lonely. But it's about the community also. It's about the aspect of being sometimes even the leader of that community and building these strong bonds with other people, not just finding it all by yourself.
Nice, nice. Um, how would someone kind of build resilience if they're dealing with like chronic stress or illness or maybe trauma?
Well, first, you must build a discipline in order to get the resilience. And so, Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about it, and we're talking about the extreme cases. If the person is on their bed and can't function, then that person would definitely need to make their bed first thing in the morning. But that's the basic of it all. That's what he mentions in his book, The 12 Rules of Life. But when you're looking at the data of past a person that is past the point of the like bed rest, depression, they're still able to function at the point where they're out of bed, but they have difficulty functioning in their life. Finding their non-negotiable is definitely the key factor in order to build that discipline. And once they build those discipline and block with their non-negotiable, then they're able to build resilience.
What are some daily habits you think produce kind of like the greatest or biggest long-term results?
Well, definitely finding your non-negotiable is that factor. If you're able to find that one, then you're able to build that discipline to acquire that resilience in order to build the life that you want. So for me, my non-negotiable is fitness. It just so happened that it is part of my daily habits. But for some people, it might just not be fitness. It might be that they are good at cooking or cleaning, or that they are good at again, it has to be something that is constructive to society. So you're non-negotiable about playing video games that's not constructive to society. Indulging in unhealthy behaviors such as smoking or drinking alcohol is not a healthy, non-negotiable.
Okay, yeah, I see. So what inspired the kind of DECA framework that you kind of built or kind of work on?
Yeah, it was after people were telling me that a lot of military members were having discipline, and every single military member is disciplined. And I said that I served for over a decade, and there are military members that are disciplined, and then there are some that aren't. And so, understanding the level of discipline and understanding how to create those systems through university. Afterward, I went to do the EpicDeca. And then afterward, people were asking me, how did you accomplish this EpicDeca? How can you be one of three people in the world that complete this event? And I said, well, here's the system because, again, that's when it was created.
Nice, nice. What component kind of DECA do you think people kind of struggle with the most?
Action.
Action.
So the DECA system is discipline, energy regulation, capacity, and action. Most people have difficulty creating a certain level of action, and that's because their attention span is shorter than any time in the history of mankind. People are constantly bombarded with tons of noises everywhere and are not focused and not creating a certain level of action that is geared towards the goals that they want to achieve and the lifestyle that they want to achieve. It takes time to build it, but it's definitely worth it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So how can listeners or just people in general kind of apply DECA to kind of their health, their business, and kind of relationships?
Yeah, so the first step is discipline. And so that building discipline in your life means that you might be disciplined in other aspects, but finding that non-negotiable, then you can build a discipline and then you can regulate your energy around what level of discipline you're seeking. So for some people, they like when they wake up in the morning, then they go and work out. So that's part of the non-negotiable. They're going to work out. So they're building that energy regulation around working out in the morning. And for someone that is, say, different, where they're either working out at night or maybe it's a non negotiable where they are cooking. I guess always like that. Like that's what they really enjoy. They're still building discipline, which means they might not go at the gym as often as another person, but they're building the discipline blocks that they need in order to spill over to other parts of their life. Then their energy regulation is built again, like around it, and then they understand their capacity. Their capacity means not necessarily that they're able to run a 5K. They might not know that they are capable of doing it, but the capacity is understanding where do you fit in? What is your purpose? What is that capacity that you are seeking? And then performing an action towards that plan that you have put in place.
Nice, nice. Kind of talking or touching on discipline, do you think you can it become kind of unhealthy where there's kind of an imbalance, or where do you find the balance of being like, I guess, pushing yourself too much, or um, kind of finding that balance of discipline and like everything? Oh, hello. Oh, sorry, it froze. It froze for a bit. Did you hear my question, by the way?
No.
Okay. Let's see where was it? Oh yeah. Um, yeah. So can discipline kind of become unhealthy, or find like how do you find the balance of like if you kind of, I want to say, like overly disciplined, or maybe push yourself too much, if someone's saying going through a difficult time or something like that?
Yeah, so we all have some level of capacity in our life. What is the purpose, the meaning of your life? And that is strictly for you. So building that discipline can become unhealthy when it's going against that certain level of purpose. So someone that is, say, it's cooking or even going for a run all the time, like that's part of the non-negotiable. Well, if it's against those building blocks about creating that certain community around you or that purpose, for example, someone that is in a relationship and that partner is constantly telling them, I appreciate that you are cooking. However, you're always cooking or you're always doing this, you're always running away, then that becomes an unhealthy behavior.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, so what are some, what would you say, like overlooked aspects of kind of human performance?
Some overlooked aspect of human performance um, are definitely people's values. So we have a lot of clients who, again, are high achievers and they've achieved some phenomenal feats in their life, whether it's through finances or even sometimes in their relationship. But if their values are not in the right place, then they will be hurting themselves and the people around them.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. How important do you think recovery is compared to kind of training harder? Like, how do you find that kind of balance and stuff like that?
Well, it should be done with your level of purpose. So, someone that is an elite athlete will have a lot more recovery periods than someone who is an amateur athlete. And that's because their level of or their intensity is much steeper than for the amateur.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Um, what role does nervous system regulation play in performance?
Um, it plays a huge factor, definitely. Just in terms of movement, how you recover uh, from those stimuli. And then there is also your stress modulation. So that's how nervous system is quite important. It's your level of reaction to any form of stimuli.
Okay, nice, nice. Kind of shifting gears, but how has uh your faith influenced your journey?
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, it's your value system must be in place before any type of goal or journey that you embark in. And that's because most goals that people will take are in their viewpoint good, but if it's not in alignment with some form of entity that has all of the variables in his hands, then those variables that you can't control will be not in alignment with what you ultimately seek.
What role would you say does spirituality play in resilience, you think?
Well, there are factors that you can't control. So for for example, for me, I tried my best to control all the variables that I could during the EpicDeca. I understood that when I was going on the islands, or I might encounter sharks when I'm swimming. So I wanted to understand how I react when I'm swimming with sharks. So I paid some individuals to drive me out in the ocean and drop me and teach me how to react to shark attacks or shark They teach me about the hierarchy of sharks, and so I understood I would react. But again, that's a physiological and a psychological response, not necessarily all of the variables that I can control. And so that's why believing in some higher power, for me, I'm a Christian, and so believing in God was definitely a part of the resilience that I built.
Right. Have there ever been moments you're training or competing, kind of where faith carried you when, like, kind of when your willpower couldn't, or you kind of about to give up or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. And that's where discipline comes in. So it doesn't rely on willpower or motivation. Motivation is a wonderful tool that you can utilize at whenever you wish, but it's by building all of these discipline blocks that eventually you're doing it no matter what. You understand that for me, within 24 hours, I will do some form of workout, some form of fitness because the regimen has been in place for years now.
Nice. Nice. Um, how would you say purpose and meaning kind of affect performance?
Well, you need a certain level of why you're doing it. So understanding why you're doing this gives you that lighthouse in the storm, so to speak.
Nice, nice. Um, you've been pretty open about like struggles with, I think, adversity and addiction. What kind of helped you break free from it?
Well, being serious about my faith definitely made a change in it, understanding what I was standing for. At the Hungry Warrior Academy, we use a four-step process, and so that we develop, which is called RISE. The first one is to recognize the pattern. The second one is identity. So my identity was again rooted in the values of Christianity. And so S is structure. So building a structure around that identity. When you are able to recognize the pattern and create the identity, then create the structure, then you engage in healthy habits that are in alignment with your values and away from these addictive behaviors.
Nice. Why do you think a lot of high achievers are secretly struggling either with like, personal stuff, maybe addiction or trauma or anything like that?
Well, that's because they want to keep the control and they want to numb the pain that is in their life through their own means. And so when you're able to give that power to a higher entity and release that control to all of or that entity, for me it's God, then you're able to again rise to the challenge.
For you, what do you think like true healing kind of looks like to you?
True healing. Well, true healing would be being able to break those unhealthy patterns. That's what healing means to me. Because again, there are certain people that have wounds. If we look at it from a physical standpoint, there are some individuals that have scars, and those scars last a lifetime. So the injury is always reminded by that part of dead skin, but it's still that the wound is healed. So that's how I can qualify a healing process.
Right. Do you think Can suffering kind of become a catalyst for transformation?
Which one can become a catalyst?
Oh, can suffering become a catalyst for transformation?
Separate, like separation?
No, suffering.
Oh, suffering. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes. Yes. I explained it with my childhood where I was bullied as a child. And so I used it as a catalyst to become much more resilient, especially to how people criticize me online or even in person. So you get to build this shell and use it as a somewhat trampoline to get to the next stage of your life, or you can become a victim and curl into a ball. And I chose the for the first one.
Nice, nice. Um, Kind of touching on some other topics. What challenges do you think like modern men face that aren't really being talked about enough?
The certain level of emotions versus feelings. So feelings are just an experience of life, and the emotional reaction is a bodily reaction where you can quantify it and how to utilize it from the perspective to not be in a position where you are in a weak point.
Okay, nice, nice. I don't know if you saw, but we only have about 10 minutes left. So probably just wrap it up with, is there anything else you'd like to kind of add or touch on? Um, Kind of closing remarks or anything else that we haven't touched on that you'd like to talk about or need or expand on?
No, thank you, Jared, for having me. And yeah, if anybody wants to hear more, then they can go to hungrywarrioracademy.com.
Thank you. I appreciate it.